We'll just give our folks a couple minutes to arrive. Like David always used, I mean, there must be traffic, so therefore we give them some time. I'm one of the organizing team for the Messy Conversation. Welcome to you all. I'm very excited, and typically all the Messy Conversation I'm excited, but today I'm particularly excited because for the first time we are going to focus in the small town of Santa Barbara. The topic is the history of the Black community in Santa Barbara. And we have two very outstanding speakers. Oh, before I mention that, we have to mention about that, make sure that when the speakers are having the conversation, be sure to mute and stay muted unless you want to talk. And we're going to record this for future use, or for other students or faculty or staff who actually cannot make it today. All right, so no further ado, I would like to introduce you our two speakers. First is Ms. Connie Alexander, founder and co-executive director of Gateway Educational Services, located in Goleta in Santa Barbara. Ms. Connie Alexander, a Santa Barbara resident for over 40 years, has been involved in grassroots organizing for years and has a rich background in creating opportunities to better the lives of those around her. Connie served as the president of the Santa Barbara chapter of the NAACP, National Association for Advancement of Colored People, where her mission is to ensure that Black communities are given equal and equitable access while pushing back against systemic racism within the Santa Barbara community. In addition, she serves on the grant-making committee for the Racial Equity Fund through the Fund for Santa Barbara. Connie also leads the Coalition for Nonprofit Leaders of Color in Santa Barbara County. The second speaker is the Reverend Dr. David Moore, Jr. He's a pastor, human rights advocate, adjunct university professor, and an author living in Santa Barbara, California. David gets traveling and meeting diverse population worldwide. He's a UCSB alum, leading Santa Barbara's beloved community church and also Jesus Collective, which is a non-geographically specific online community. These communities foster wholeness and equity by healing relationships and cultural divides, honoring the dignity of all people and protecting our planet's biodiversity through actively listening, understanding, partnering, and serving. He serves on several local advocacy organizations, including Central Coast Planned Parenthood of the California Central Coast, and he's the first president of the NAACP Santa Barbara affiliate. So allow me to welcome, or join me to welcome, the two speakers from Santa Barbara. So it's all yours now, Connie and Dr. Moore.
Well, first, let me clarify. I am the first vice president of the NAACP here because Connie is the president and we work together well. I love what she does and her inspiration and assiduousness and, you know, the longevity that she has here, because I also have been, she's been here over 40 years. I moved here with my family, at that time, 3 kids, my wife, and it was 1984. I would like to talk to you about, you know, how we are all the fruit, or at least most of us who are African Americans are the fruit of the Great Migration. But I'm going to just move forward to 1984 when we moved here and just give you a little anecdote. When after we moved here, I was sitting in a barbershop, a Black barbershop on Haley Street in Santa Barbara, in the chair and just interacting with the fellas. And they found out that I was new, and they asked, so do you know the Santa Barbara police test? And I said no. And they said they keep basketballs in the trunk of their cruisers and they want to see how well you can dribble. Now, the reason for that is because the year before, 1983, the Harlem Globetrotters were visiting Santa Barbara. And while they were walking down State Street, they were arrested. It was a mistaken identity. How do you mistake anybody with people that are near 7 feet tall? You know, a group of them, I don't know. But they were mistaken for some other men who had robbed a jewelry store in Montecito. So, you know, it became a big story. But going back to me sitting in the barber shop, they told me about this. And I just kind of brushed it off. You know, we were all joking. And then a few nights later, I was driving down not a quarter of a mile from my office to an ATM. And when I pulled into the parking lot, the police followed me. And I got out of my car and they asked, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going over there to get some money." And so they didn't bother me any further. And I went and I got my cash and got back in the car and they followed me. They followed me to my office. And this is about 10 o'clock at night. And I pulled out my key and I'm getting ready to go in. And they said, "Where are you going now?" I said, "I'm going into my office." And they asked if they could have my driver's license. And about 15 minutes later, they brought it back to me and said, "Have a nice night," which is sometimes a favorite line. Anyway, that just gives you the tone that was set for me and my family when we moved here. And I have multiple stories that stem from that experience. For example, I met the chief of police at that time, and we had lunch together, and I told him about that experience. And shortly after that, he was interviewed by the local newspaper about accusations that there were acts of racism coming from the Santa Barbara Police Department. He said he hadn't heard anything. Now, this is after he and I had lunch. I'm going to stop here and let Connie take over for now.
Well, thank you, David. And, you know, I think it's unfortunate, but it actually is part of the daily reality that I think so many people here could go into that conversation, right? Could say what their experiences were that they didn't expect of being here and being in Santa Barbara and being in Santa Barbara County, that there was some racial interaction that they really didn't expect, you know? And so I think it just goes through layers. I grew up in the Bay Area. So coming to Santa Barbara was quite the culture shock for me, because I just didn't expect that there was like, I wouldn't see people. I wouldn't see people who didn't look like me. So early on, that was quite the culture shock. And then it was kind of a regular thing where I felt that I needed to be very aware of where I was in a different way. Like I knew where I was, that I was being looked at differently. I was being talked to differently. I was in stores. Santa Barbara at one point had a little Saks Fifth Avenue. It was just a small one on State Street. And so it opened and a girlfriend of mine, this was years later, you know, went, let's see what's in the little Saks. We were there and I was quickly aware that I was being followed by the store security. So I had to say to him, I literally was like, okay, this is ridiculous. I stopped, I went to him and I said, okay, you're following me. Is this the relationship you want to have with the Black community here? Where we're basically not welcome here? Is this the conversation? I mean, is this where we're going? Oh, what are you talking about? I said, okay, so let's go get your manager and let's have this conversation. Manager came out. I said, you guys have to decide really quickly if this is the relationship you want with our community. Because if it is, then I am happy as a community member to tell everybody to stay out of the store. And then maybe I'll bring some more people and we'll just stand outside for a while and let y'all know that we're not going to shop in this store. And so, you know, unfortunately, you pick and choose sometimes those situations, like, okay, where am I going to do about this? But it happens. Um, Anna introduced me as an educator. So yes, I have a nonprofit learning center and programs that I started almost 13 years ago with another African-American woman. And we kind of regularly get the suspicion of being Black and being an educator. Like it somehow or another doesn't go in the same sentence. It's weird, but sometimes it feels like it doesn't go in the same sentence for people. And we're constantly, even people who have known us like in this context for a while are still asking, now, I'm not sure what, as if they're questioning, what are we doing? We're like, hello, we're educators, we're working with kids, we're doing these kinds of things. Like it's nothing that unusual. And so sometimes, I really have to think about, well, do other people get these questions? And I know the answer, no, they don't get those questions. And so for me, I think it, at this point in my life, has really activated me to want to think about what kinds of legacy to leave here and change to bring. So in April, David and I both became officers for a revitalized NAACP. And so our intentions and what we're working on is to elevate this and to really elevate this for our children that are in this community. Because our children need to understand and know the context and some of the histories, and I do know a ton of that history, of who's been here, who's contributed. Often I think that Black children especially are taught that they are not a part of the contribution and the fiber of the country. Like they have no idea that they are woven in here and what their people have brought here. America wouldn't be America without us, quite frankly. And so they don't know that, they don't feel that. So really, I am like passionate about working with kids and youth because of that. And so I see somebody asking a question about the Great Migration. David could talk about it, I could talk about it too. Of when did people come here and how did Black people get here? So David, if you know some of that, you want to start some of that, I could definitely talk about some of that, like how did Black people get here in the first place?
And we shall. It's the major cities that are usually recognized for being the destinations of people from the South during the Great Migration, but it happened all over the country. And wherever there was a need for service workers, especially where there were, hotel workers and gardeners and janitors, things like that, there was a particular need. And so Santa Barbara is no different in that respect. We do have a record of pre-emancipation slaves being in Santa Barbara. But as a pastor, I see a lot of this through the eyes of my experience with churches and with clergy. And as people migrated to the Central Coast of California, they found community in their churches. That was a safe space for people. And so you would find, and to some extent still find, where there is any degree of participation, because we've been gentrified away, but you will, what you saw then, particularly, a couple of decades ago and longer, is that the churches were often constituted by people from a particular geography. So you might go to a particular church and wonder why are all these people here? Well, they're all connected with Mississippi in some way, or they're all connected with Florida or Texas, or at least a percentage of them. And they coalesced around a sense of culture and belonging, and safety and providing information for each other. So the historic churches in Santa Barbara, which includes Second Baptist, St. Paul AME, Bethel Church of God in Christ, New Friendship Missionary Baptist Church, and Grace Missionary Baptist Church, Greater Hope These communities, and I'm going to take just a quick look at Greater Hope. Reverend Ficklin has been, he is the longest serving clergy person in Santa Barbara County of any tradition. He has led his congregation for 55 years, and he's from Mississippi, a former sharecropper. He picked cotton when he was young. And there are people still in that congregation who share that experience with him. Now, because our style of communication is not merely cerebral, I consider Reverend Ficklin to be one of the finest preachers I ever heard, and certainly in this region. But he does something beyond oratory. You know, when he preaches, he reaches into your soul, and he makes a connection with you, and he brings you to your feet. Now, he's not the only Black preacher in the area that can do that, but he goes back to his days picking cotton in Mississippi, and you can feel the ascent, the crescendo of his life when you hear him preach. And so to me, he represents the Santa Barbara Black experience more than anyone I know.
And I love the beauty of the connection for him, especially when you listen to him and members of his congregation. I had an opportunity to interview his sisters a couple of years ago, who are amazing singers, for a documentary thing I was doing, and listening to the cadence that is especially from, and if you've been in Mississippi, you know where that comes from, David. You're right. Like, you can hear it. And there's a rhythm in that cadence from him that just is so powerful and uplifting. And so you're right, when you look at those pockets of people around a community, you see it. You know, Santa Barbara's proximity to military bases also had an influence on Black communities coming here. So the Lompoc community, which is a little north of Santa Barbara, that community is near Vandenberg Air Force Base. And so there were soldiers who came, and because of everything with the wars, and they were able to stay, right? Although many of them would tell you they couldn't stay in Santa Barbara itself because of the redlining. There was sections where they were not by city ordinance allowed to buy homes. And we have maps of that. We have maps of those redlining areas that they weren't allowed to buy homes in. So they ended up in communities smaller, like Lompoc, and even in Lompoc, they weren't allowed, except for certain sections, to buy homes. But the closeness, so when you talk about that church, I think of all the connections of everybody that's still connected. So often when I'm in school settings and I'm trying to explain this to them, I am always explaining it in the context of, do not break up the family. Because maybe grandma lives in Santa Barbara, but aunt and uncle live in Lompoc, and somebody else lives in Santa Maria, and somebody else is over here, but it's all one family. So don't break up the family, because the whole county encompasses the family and the way people feel connected to one another as family in that way. So when I came here and started to get to know people, and I started going to church here, I became parts of and connected to people because of that family connection in all of those spaces. Now that I'm providing educational support, it's pretty fun to see their grandkids, some of them their great grandkids, coming through our door, little ones, and I know exactly who you are. And that's really fun. I can say, hi, I know exactly who you are. You know what? I know your aunt so-and-so and your uncle so-and-so and your granny. And they, oh, you do? Yes, I do. And welcome to our space, beautiful little one. And you belong here, and we know you, and we're going to love you and support you because you're a part of family in that way. So for me, it's been really special to have that connection that way, and to keep bringing that connection for our children, because otherwise our kids do start to feel that uncomfortable erasure part. Yeah, they start to feel the part where, oh, there's some intentionality of erasure where we don't talk about people's history. And personally, I'm very excited for some of the particulars that might happen through the reparations movements. in every community of California, I would like there to be cultural context statements. I'm going to drop into the chat the one that was recently done for the Black community in Santa Barbara. So a group of young organizers started working on this called Healing Justice. I was on the committee too, along with some other people, to get an incredible cultural context company group to come in and do this. And it lays out from the time of the first enslaved people that came here, because they did come as enslaved people, right through now. It maps out the communities. It maps out where people lived, who owned businesses. And so I think throughout California, right now, Black communities especially need to have these kind of context statements done where our histories are documented in these different communities, because that's where the erasure starts. It's where the erasure pushes through. And it's really quite painful. Because David, by the way, I totally know that Harlem Globetrotter story because I was here. I was a young student, and we all heard that they had arrested the Harlem Globetrotters, and that it was horrifying, right? Like, how do you miss them? Like, yeah, going from one place to another. They were suspicious, right?
So, going as you know, like Connie, even though our families didn't know each other, I also was in the Bay Area when I was little, but my dad was Navy, and so got stationed in Oxnard. So I can relate to the fact that you know, there were military people in the area. A story that that our family finds is very fond of is my dad, who passed away in 2019. When they moved here as 20-year-olds, my parents came from North Carolina, part of the Great Migration. When they moved here as 20-year-olds, we grew up largely here on the Central Coast, and those communities, those churches, whether, you know, regardless of the denomination, there were Black folks from the South, you know, and so we visited. We had church, big church events and not so big church events, but we would meet with each other. So we knew people who attended, even when we were living in Oxnard, we knew people who attended church in Santa Barbara and Goleta and Lompoc and Santa Maria, and, you know, all the way up San Luis Obispo and Salinas. So we would drive up for special events. And I remember I didn't understand the largeness of this, but whenever we would come through Santa Barbara, there was a hotel on the beach side called the Miramar. All of the roofs were blue, and it's a pretty exclusive place, actually. Well, it's Santa Barbara, so that kind of says that. But anyway, it's, you know, even a little pricier than most of the places here. And I remember when we would, as a kid, when we drive up and down the coast, my mom would say, you know, your daddy took me to that hotel when we first came to California. And she said it so often, I was wondering why she would bring it up so much. And it wasn't until adulthood that I could appreciate. They had never stayed in a hotel before. They had driven across country and could not stay in the hotels. And so when the fact that they were able to stay there at all was extremely meaningful to my parents. And when they wanted us to visit, this is in the late 50s, but they wanted to take myself and my sister to visit our grandparents in North Carolina, and we couldn't stay at hotels. We actually, because they couldn't stay anywhere, Mom fell asleep at the wheel, totaled the car. An ambulance took us to a Black-owned funeral home because the hospital was segregated, and brought in a Black doctor, that kind of thing. Fast forward 5 decades, 6 decades, a woman read my book, where I tell that story, because it's largely personal memoir. And I tell that story, and she sent my wife and I a check and wrote a letter, asked for addresses for each of our kids, and sent a letter because she said her father, she's white, and she remembered her grandfather, rather, who owned a hotel on Route 66 that we had to go, he had a shotgun and said that he would shoot one of those so-and-sos if they ever even thought about coming in and getting, and she remembered that from when she was 5 and 6 years old. And she felt convicted by that, so much so that she said, I don't know if that would have been one of the hotels where they would have stayed, but we want to do whatever we can to make up for it.
And so like I think of the decades here, so each decade, because that document I dropped in the chat for y'all, it kind of goes through the demographics. So to give you some idea of demographically the size of the community. And when we hit the early 80s, that shift in West Coast, the shift in the West Coast around real estate was devastating for a lot of the Black community here. And people left. And people who were kind of right on the margin and struggling in that way, they left. Or people left because they thought they could get a better price on that home, and this might be their opportunity to get out of here and get some money for that house. But you can really see the demographical shift, and you see the demographical shift within the county. So even more folks left Santa Barbara proper and moved into the central part of the county, Lompoc, Santa Maria, because of economics and what that did. But you can really feel that. So now, when I think about the schools in Santa Barbara proper, Santa Barbara Unified, because I'm with them all the time. There's probably a little over 130 students that identify as Black African American. But if I go to Lompoc Unified, it's closer to 340 kids that identify as Black African American. So you can feel some of how the demographic around the economic impacts. But when you're working with them, like I said, they're still the same family, because I have kids in Santa Barbara and kids in Lompoc that we help, and they're cousins. And the parents will say to me, I noticed at this school, we can't get this. Do you know why? Okay, let's work on it. And then the cousin will say, yeah, but at my school, I can get this. Oh, so even within that, there's inequity that you can kind of feel, that the kids can feel the differences. So the larger district has the lower per pupil to spend versus the other districts that have more per pupil to spend, and you really feel that, and the kids feel it too. So that's always, because where I am right now with education, I can feel that, and I can feel that shift. But what I feel in our children more is that they need these narrative stories. They have to be connected to this and help to understand the great contributions that so many Santa Barbans have made. We have a hospital here, Goleta Valley Hospital. One of the founders of that hospital was an African-American doctor. The reason, Dr. McMillan, one of the reasons he was one of the founders is they wouldn't let him practice in any place else. So the medical group of the couple of friends he had, they said, well, let's go over here and maybe you could practice over here, Horns. And we could do this over here, you could be over here. Because he, in the beginning, could not practice medicine in the other hospital, And so for our children, when I explained to them, hey, that hospital is across the street? Hey, there was an African-American doctor that helped to found that hospital. They look at me like, really? I didn't know that. So it's so important as educators that we are constantly in the space of making sure the kids hear these stories, that they're connected to these stories. UC Santa Barbara actually has an incredible Black history to it. I could think of the different people that have taught there, the Center for Black Studies. Like there's a whole history, Black history at UCSB, at UC Santa Barbara. Small, grew in influence, started some things. I laugh on Saturday morning. Sometimes, you're watching those different news shows and I look up and I always am seeing somebody, Black Studies, Center for Black Studies at UCSB. And I just chuckle. I'm like, yeah. So here they are. You guys don't think we're here, but there they are, right? So yeah, that always gives me a laugh on a Saturday morning when I see him on there commentating.
So Connie, you mentioned that we're family, that people are connected across the municipalities. What would you say about? Well, let me just be straightforward with it. Aren't there a lot more people of color, African Americans in particular, who work in Santa Barbara than live in Santa Barbara?
Yes, absolutely. The great commute,
Yeah.
the
And so it
daily
seems like
grind
we
and
were
great
intentionally
commute.
pushed out,
Absolutely.
which is bad for everything. It's bad for the environment as much as it is just bad for families.
Absolutely. This morning in my office, one of the parents that we have been helping, her son's at one of the junior highs here. And we kind of lost him a little bit. I was like, where was he in the fall? So I reached out to her this morning because I'm like, I need to know what's going on with this boy. What's going on with this student? How are they doing? And she explained that they have recently lost their place to live. She's commuting from way far south to get him to school in Santa Barbara because she doesn't want to disrupt his school. And she's trying to find a place to live. And she's doing it, and she's a single parent, and just the tears and her heart of trying to be the best possible parent, but asking really, how do I manage this? How do I navigate this right now? Because my son is actually in a space right now where he's getting a lot from school. He's getting support. If I pull him out of this, what might happen? So those are the kinds of things in every community that I feel like Black Californians go through. And I keep saying the word Black Californians because I feel the way we are connected in that it's happening all over for us in California.
And this is not specifically something that affects Black people, but it affects poor people, and that is
Absolutely.
the city of Santa Barbara. It's popular. Well, this is pre-pandemic, so I can't say how it might be true for now, but the city of Santa Barbara's population doubles every day, and
That's right.
then goes back to where it was
Yeah,
every
because we
night.
see, absolutely, because we see the demographic impact of our schools. So, since the pandemic, then we can see, we've lost a few hundred plus of students enrolled, but really all they did was enrolled in the other part of the county, right? So every day people are making the grind, and trying to provide the best they can for their kids and their families. So you can really feel that economic influence in that. And, because an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment is around $3,400 a month right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
if it's close to campus, you might pay, $4,000 for a 2-bedroom. Yeah.
right. While you have, pockets of, when you think about how much people really make. And so that mom that sat with us this morning in tears, who works for, a regional retailer, and she's like a manager, and she's like, I'm working every day. How can I be this space? And I'm working every day. But yet, what kind of choices is she going to have to make for her son? So we sat and talked to her, me and Audrey, and we're going to continue to work with her to figure out what we can do, refer her some other places. But this is the things that people go through. And she's having to make a very hard decision about how this will impact the educational shift for her son. So he has some special needs, and disrupting would be potentially devastating for him. So choices that people are constantly forced to make. But in that bubble of being Black families, not having resources to really go to directly, which is why it's so important that we keep our doors open, because we're a resource. We're a resource. To be able to have people come in, that mom come in and say, this is what's up. I know other people now that I can call to say, do you know somebody that can rent to this family? So that's what community does for each other, right? That to me, that's what community does for each other, which is why it's so important. So at the beginning, before this all started, somebody said, I didn't know there was a tribe or community. Oh yeah, there is. We are here loving on each other, supporting each other, and trying to do our best we can and support our kids the best we can.
There's a question here from David Tripp. Would you say more about the history of Black resistance to the racism you're describing in Santa Barbara, and any alliance with other marginalized racial groups like Latinx folks? Oh, honey,
Well, that's an hour all by itself.
that's what I'm saying. That's my goodness. Okay, so we Connie and I, we have friends, we have allies across the board, and some of our closest friends and allies, in fact, the NAACP board include Latinx, Latinas specifically, and yet we are facing anti-Blackness from the brown community, like we're the LA City Council or something. I mean, yeah. Particularly kids in schools. Go ahead, Connie, because
no, I was gonna say, so a month or two back, I wrote an op-ed in the Santa Barbara Independent about what we are experiencing on the anti-Blackness and the racism. And so I would say resistance would be just being able to make it, right? So the greatest act of resistance is to stay, to work, to do those things. Organizations like ours or other organizations, I'm thinking of some of the younger folks that are starting some organizations that are working specifically around being able to call it out, so to speak, around what is the anti-Blackness that happens. But it does have a direct impact in terms of our children. Because if I was going to say, quite frankly, right now, our greatest struggle for our Black children is that they're experiencing in any of these districts being called the N-word a lot, every single day. But interestingly enough, it's not white kids calling them these names. I think some of the white parents have done a little better of telling their kids, don't go around calling people like that, right? But it has been our Latin little boys, especially, who are right now struggling, and that's where it's coming from. And so, I mean, David knows this because I said it out loud in a meeting the other night. I said, who in the Latinx community is going to stand up for our kids? Who can we reach out to? Is there a leader I can reach out to that will honestly have this conversation, to be able to pull together to say, let's work on this together? But you don't always feel it. So I'll try and drop the op-ed I wrote in the chat. I wrote 2 of them recently, just around what we were talking about right now, and the fact that we don't always have alliances. And our kids feel this, because I feel like we're about 3 generations behind in people really understanding the impact of that kind of racism. So our schools have done a horrible job of teaching people to be anything when it comes to Black people. So now I've got 3 generations of parents raised that don't know anything. So they're passing on this hideous ignorance. They're passing it on, and their kids don't know. So we have to go back. Oh yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are. You know, that, you know, as a person who's been in California, you know, almost all of my life, I grew up in the barrio of Oxnard called La Colonia, and most of my dearest friends were brown. And to see the Black-brown hostility now is so unnecessary. But I see it as a product of the prison industrial complex, which segregates and pits people against one another. And what happens on the streets has already been happening on the yard, and vice versa. And so I think that this is an effect of, you know, just not to be too esoteric and all, but, you know, white supremacist capitalism is breaking our country. It's, you know, it's breaking people, and in the process, not unwittingly, perhaps, breaking the country.
Yeah, I think that, you know, you take a scarce amount of resources, and then you say, I'm gonna break these tiny scarce resources and make you fight over these tiny scarce whatever it is. And then, oh yeah, and then I'm gonna, on top of that, teach you that the greatest way you can get over is your proximity to whiteness. And I'm going to keep teaching you this, and I'm going to keep teaching your children this. And then it's adopted, because some of the little brown kids are calling each other the N-word if they're darker. So the conversations that I'm having with Latino leaders that will have the conversation is, hey, y'all got to deal with your own colorism stuff. Like, you know, this is deep in here, and it's showing up over here with kids, and y'all don't want to talk about it, but it's right here. And these kids feel this. And so again, proximity to whiteness being taught, the supreme, right? That is how we all get over. And that's the part that's so incredibly painful, where educators, come on, educators, 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 we have got to do better, because this is crazy that this level is like this. Like, what happened? I feel like we lost about 30 years in here. What happened? I don't know. It's just my personal frustration. And do we want to do some questions now? I don't want to keep.
I'm gonna bring in a question I have. Dr. Moore, I hear all these relational connections that your mind is making, and I really appreciate that, especially in religious leaders. I'm a pastor's kid who comes from a long line of those folks, and I think that your work, as well as Connie's work, as you know, both teachers, and you connect folks. That's part of how it works. And I wonder, with this vast history of connections that you're making to people that are in your community, are there any projects or ways that help others to learn this history of connections that you're spreading around as knowledge?
Yeah, I got a few things.
Yeah, me too. Go for it.
So one of the things we're doing with Gateway is we have something called Obsidian Scholars. So it's young Black scholars. So it's grades 5 through 8. And we are doing all this beautiful cultural work with them. And so they I have some different Saturdays that they spend with us. But part of it, the focus is civic engagement and the study of resistance. So if somebody said, are you asking? Oh, yeah. So they are studying great Black leaders who have done resistance, been a part of resistance. They're also studying art as resistance, because we're working on that too with them. And they are choosing a project. So they have a couple of community engagement projects that the kids are working on. So right now they have a podcast, and we're editing and working on their podcast. And then they have, they're going to be working with our local public TV access. The kids are going to do a whole series of public service announcements on what it's like to be bullied because of the color of my skin. And so that's something that they're going to work on, and they're kind of putting together. They're going to do some stuff together. So we have that. We've got a college readiness program. So on this side, we're working on that and working hard at addressing what happens at school. Just sent a letter to our school board today about situations.
And
I
really
as president in
appreciate
NAACP. Yeah.
I appreciate not just the NAACP, but Connie Gateway Educational Services. You know, that's a bulwark in the community for light and justice. I lead a congregation, Beloved Community Church. And listen, there are not that many Black folks in our church. But I unapologetically refer to us as a Black Revelation Church, trying to bring some light and some wisdom and some, I mean, one of the best things that ever happened to us was the pandemic, because we went completely virtual and we started getting guest speakers like the Reverend Jeremiah Wright out of Chicago, and the Reverend Fotutu, Desmond Tutu's daughter, from the Netherlands. And we started bringing all these voices. This coming Sunday, we have a relatively new person working in admin at the local Christian college, Westmont College, but I think he's got too much consciousness to stay on that job. Something's going to end up giving at some point. But that's just, that's who we are. That's what we are about. We know where we live. We know that if we're going to try to gather a whole lot of Black people regularly, that's just not happening. But what we can do is we can take the Black experience to the folks who live here, our neighbors, the people who live here, the ones who love us anyway. We can give freely what we've been given, because it's a tremendous trust. The Black experience is priceless. It is on the level of the indigenous experience. I mean, it's something that cannot be replaced. And for someone to give you an opportunity to explore that and to learn about it, never turn that down. I don't turn
That's
it
right.
down.
Nope, nope. Anna's asking this question about social networks of African Americans and SB influence behavior and health. I think there are parts of us that are leading and doing things in circles that are a part of community conversations and boards and other spaces. I mean, I attend regularly something that goes on with the public health, and I'm always bringing it up. And others, that I can think of that are in different spheres. And we've made quite a push recently about mental health services for our children. And so through UCSB, there's an establishment of something called the Healing Space. And the Healing Space is a collective of those who are therapists, working on their therapy degrees, et cetera, who are specifically trying to be there and available for Black community members and Black children and Black families. So we are so thankful for the Healing Space and want that to just grow and want to see. So that's something, if y'all can do that, that's something that could help, is to get more practitioners available in that space so that the trauma that the kids are experiencing could be there. And for some of us old folks that still have to process some of our trauma, we got stuff too. But I'm really appreciative of things like that. So that's new. The Healing Space is like 2 years old. So I see places where people are trying to establish things as a way to network and to help and provide support.
I want to just thank all of you for even being interested in this conversation. And I hope you're loud. I hope, we tell our children, if you see something, say something,
That's right.
And what we're dealing with is no less than abuse. And so, this is not gossip. When we bring up our stories and we tell our experiences, it's not gossip. We're not trying to call out somebody just to make ourselves look good. It is survival. And so if you see something, say something.
Yeah, and I think for educators, especially if there's educators of color around that want to participate in some way in the schools with our kids, even LGBTQ educators who have a way of, because that's really another touch point for our children where I see a lot of damage happening, being able to have those resources. Because it feels like sometimes communities say, oh, well, we don't have any resources. We don't know anybody. And I think, God, every time I get into a pocket of people, like here I'm in this pocket with all of you, and I'm thinking, well, there's a whole 2 panel screens worth of people with some resources. Why are people connected? Like, how come people don't know this around here? So thank you for the conversation today, because I think that this is a big part of it, is that people meet people and know and hear this is where there are resources and where we can offer some of those resources to people. Because it just feels like sometimes that's like an out with people, like, oh yeah, we don't have any resources. And I'm thinking, well, Antioch's over there and UCSB's over there, and what's up? Anna, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Connie. Wow, it's so beautiful. I really appreciate that. On one hand, it's a story that is, at a certain point, I feel that is sad, but I really love the tone of both Connie and David. Dr. David Moore is very optimistic.
David is fine.
Very optimistic, very loving, very beautiful. I seriously thank you. I mean, in Santa Barbara, we have leaders like you both. I feel very comfortable. I feel very proud, and I'm very happy. Now here is at Antioch, we're also educators. Okay, so I would like to get your advice. Is that if you were to advise Antioch, what would you advise the staff and the faculty to support the Black students and also other minority students in the classroom? What are the things that we can do?
I think I think that educators in elementary and secondary struggle with how to make some of that programming relevant. Like they're busy doing, like they've got this huge list of what they're supposed to be teaching, right? They're like, oh God, I gotta get to all this stuff. So that it feels like they don't have access to, how do I bring this into the curriculum? I don't know where the disconnect is. I've been trying to figure it out, but somehow or another, being able to help address all ethnic cultures is still a step. They're still struggling. We in 2025 in California, we have to have ethnic studies in all high schools. It's not in our junior highs, it's not in our elementaries. And I really feel like these educators struggle on the curriculum side. They're like, please give us lessons. What can we do? And they don't have time. So, if there's a panel of you or something, I can bring a panel of you in somewhere to say, hey, here's some resources, teachers. Here's some things that you can do that fit developmentally with these groups of children. Any of you who have any of that, that would be amazing. It'd be amazing.
Because our pedagogy is flawed. I mean, something's not working. Because to me, it seems the simplest idea in the world to teach people that it's okay to love everybody, to without exception. I mean, that's the simplest concept in that we have to grapple with from childhood, and yet it doesn't play out in our daily experience, at least not as much as we would like. And we're grateful for anybody that we connect with on whatever level of consciousness that's able to read us to the point that we can read back, and vice versa. I love that. It makes me feel at home in the world. And I know that that's what we're yearning for. I think that's Antioch's, kind of a mission there, right?
And I think too, because David, we were just having this conversation around how we as Black community members want to be a space where we stand up to when we see harm, right? So we've had a tone in Santa Barbara lately of a lot of anti-Semitic behavior. And it's appalling. And so we too, so for me as a leader in this community, Black leader in this community, it's appalling. And so how we can work together on that, because when you let that tone in particular rise up, it has something else attached to it, pardon my language, that is from the pit of hell. And when you let that rear its head, it will continue, and it brings something else with it. And it brings violence, and it has a direct connection to violence. And so that's not okay. And so we need Antioch professors and people to say, this is not okay. I need some of y'all to write some op-eds. That's what you can do. Y'all write some op-eds and say, you know what? No, I see this too, and that's wrong. And we got something to say about it.
If you see
Brother
something,
Clarence,
say something.
see something, say something. Brother Clarence, you have been so patient. I see your hand.
Well, first of all, I just want to say to Dr. David, that woman who wrote the check to you, is it possible you could give her my number and my information? Because I grew up in the Jim Crow South of North Carolina. So as a kid, I was in the back of the station wagon, driving all the way up the East Coast, passing those motels that we could not stay in as well. So pass on her number to me if you would. My family's all deceased, but I could get
Where in North Carolina, if I may ask?
the coast, Wilmington area, about 30 minutes from Myrtle Beach. So anywho, that's one point. But what I really wanted to ask, the question I wanted to ask is, in all of Santa Barbara, is there an archive? Is there a museum? Is there any representation of Black people that when I come there, because I'm going to come there to push up on you to go to one of those churches you're talking about. But is there a depository of Blackness that people can come and visit and learn from? And is there an annual Black History program, maybe citywide, that you do and produce? I'm just curious.
So in terms of the archive and the cultural, we've been talking about it for a couple of years of how do we do that? There's a small archive that's out at UCSB, but actually this is something that's very much on the mind of putting together a Black cultural arts center, something that we can do. There's some of it archived out at the Center for Black Studies at UCSB, so they have some of that archive out there with them. Then I would say celebration wise, boy, the calendar this last year, I was way too busy. There was so many events going on. Whew, it was fantastic. And then last year we had a fabulous Juneteenth time. Which will happen again. So yeah, there's definitely things that go on. And with the NAACP, because we started in April, me and David, so we will be working on getting that calendar out there so people kind of know stuff that's going on in the community and kind of put that up. But yeah, I mean, yeah,
There are
we need
things
the
going
money.
on right
Like
now.
if Oprah was gonna write a check, she could write a check for that. Somebody tell her, we need a
Right?
Black Culture Arts Center. You could write a check, girlfriend. We'd appreciate it.
Just
Meghan
this
Markle.
month, Black History Month was replete with activities. I mean,
Mhm.
I couldn't get to most of them. Yeah.
Well, I hope you guys will put us, at least Asa, on your mailing list, because I'm a card-carrying member of the NAACP, the Beverly
right.
Hills Hollywood chapter. I produced the theater awards and the theater festival here, or I have in the past, because it's.
I forgot where you are, Claire.
I'm
Where
in
are you?
Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yes, so I'm a member, a card-carrying member of the NAACP, and I'm with the Beverly Hills Hollywood chapter. Sounds fluffier than it is, but it is what it is.
It's a big deal.
So we would
There's
love to somehow connect with your calendar, is what I'm saying.
Absolutely. So there's our email address, and then I'll put our website in here for NAACP. And absolutely, I mean, we're just getting ourselves revived and going and moving again. So yeah, I love being able to connect with other NAACP units. So thank you, Clarence.
Thanks, Clarence. There's some love from a few folks and some support for some of the things that you've been thinking about. And I'm also noticing that we're about to hit our break where some of the folks leave, but I didn't want to do that without asking you both about your writing and your publications. And David, I'm super curious about your book. Yeah.
David, talk about your book.
Well, the book was written and published in 2017 after the inauguration of the former occupant of the White House. But it's not really about him. It's about me. It's about, my family. And it's about how we deal with reality, how we've dealt with life in these United States. And it's about Christianity. Maybe not that many people are interested in Christianity these days, but you might be interested in this. So, and I'm also getting ready in later in the spring to launch a podcast titled "God is Not an Asshole." And it will, be a YouTube channel, and we're going to have a lot of fun with that because we're going to be connecting people who have emerged or are emerging from a background of dogmatism.
Ooh, fabulous. I'm looking forward
of various
to
kinds.
various kinds. Oh, good. Good. Well, I'm not writing anything right now, but when our kids do their podcasts, I'll share the link with Anna and she can share it out with you guys, because the kids have to tape 2 more, and then we'll publish it out there, and then you guys can come listen to our little ones talk about their experiences directly and how they're coping, and their unbelievably insightful questions and insights. They blow me away, those little junior hires. I love them.
Thank you. I notice it's 5, and so thank you to those who have to leave us. We will see you again next quarter, the second week of the quarter, Monday, as usual, and we'll continue our conversation as we usually do. Please put your questions, comments in the chat. I see some more gratefulness from Fox and Lindsay, Jean.
Thank you. Thank you all.
You can see that you have touched the heart of every single one of us. Look at all the loving comments.
That's so nice. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's amazing to see a topic very serious, a topic very difficult, a topic very messy, and yet you present it in such a hopeful, such beautiful way. I cannot thank you both enough.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes.
Bye, Lily.
I just want to add something, just to lessen the blow of your frustration that I hear in your voice about the reality of Santa Barbara and what's going on with the anti-Blackness and as it's related to economics. I'm not able to travel like right now as much as I used to, but pre-pandemic, when I was traveling, I heard that same frustration with my friends in New York, in Harlem, in Newark, New Jersey, in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. looks like a whole different place now because they've basically marginalized Black people to Virginia and Maryland, first to Maryland and then to Virginia. I mean, it's a whole other world now, and people are continually frustrated, and they're having to move out of the comfort of where they've lived for years and years and years. Even professional people, professors I talk to, are having that same kind of situation, and it's really frustrating because there's no one solution. And you know, I guess we have to go back to what Coretta Scott King says. You know, we have to, every generation has to just keep fighting and keep fighting and keep fighting. So I guess we just have to stay in the fight and hopefully connect with enough allies and resources to bring about a certain kind of consciousness, Dr. David Moore, that people will start to move in a direction of some kind of equality, because it's really taking us back 20 and 30 and 40 years, and our Supreme Court and the current, you know, GOP leaders and your friend DeSantis in Florida, none of that is helping us moving forward. And if you notice, there's been a lot of conversation in various municipalities around reparations. I guess you probably read today's newspaper about San Francisco. So even the reality of that is going to not happen for a very long time. So I just feel like, you know, we all kind of have to be allies in the fight together and just create these coalitions that will move things forward, because everyone is frustrated and the progress seems so slow right now. So I really feel you, and I thank you and I bless you for sharing the reality of Santa Barbara with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Clarence. Of course.
Just before we end today, I'm wondering if you would share with us a little bit of your vision for the NAACP chapter that you're working with, and what do you hope to accomplish in your roles?
You know, I would say, because I put this out there, so this year, 3 initiatives we're going to work on, besides everything else. But one is to be focused on education and focused on what impacts things are having for our Black African-American children in school. Second initiative is to do some work around supporting Black businesses, because I was just blown away last year when I went to Juneteenth and I saw all these little micro businesses everywhere. I saw how many of them were being led by women and Black women. I said, we need to do more to support them and get out there and figure out what we can do, whether it's micro loans or whatever we can do to be able to help support them. And finally, that we have to work on what we're going to do to build some alliances so that we can directly address the ever increasing anti-Blackness that's here in this community. And so if you know the history of the NAACP, you know that it wasn't just started by African Americans. It was actually started by white folks and Black folks together. And so we welcome people, but we want them to know it will be a Black facing organization in terms of its focus and what we're going to be focused on. That's our spot. So that's where we are. But it was revived in a way because we almost lost the charter in Santa Barbara. And so looking at it, I just said, I don't think I can let that happen. So I'm busy, but let me step up. And I appreciate David, who I know is busy too. And he said, okay, come on. So getting people who would come to make sure we can build stability and sustainability. So working to get youth. I just had this great conversation with one of the basketball coaches at UCSB about some of them becoming members, the students. And so building that sustainability for me is about being connected to younger people and having them come in and experiencing what we're doing. So that's part of it, like in a nutshell, in 1 second, 1 minute.
And what I have to add to that is I'm here to make Connie's job easier. That I have a something visceral in me about the power of a wise Black woman in the world. And you know, she is one of them, to be sure. And there are others in our community that there's nothing in me at all that wants to get in front of them or even try. I don't think I could, but where I see them working, I am there. I'm there to uplift Black women. And it just so happens that Connie Alexander leads our affiliate of the NAACP, and she's doing good work. And so I'm going to help her do good work.
You think?
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for asking.
You can join any branch, so I may have to join your branch.
That's right. Especially if you are a lifetime member of the NAACP, you can join any branch you like. So on our website, there's a button for join. You can click the button. If you work in an area, so if you work in a city, it's easy. You can join that too. And you can decide any branch that you want to join to. But especially if you work in an area, if you work in a city, you can join. I am going to have to roll off, everyone, because I have to get out of here because there's little ones. I got to go relieve the people who have been working to let me be here, who let me be here during this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I hope to hear from you. Thank
So,
you.
We
This is
appreciate you.
wonderful. Are you here?
And Sherry, I will tell Audrey you said hi.
All right.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And welcome,
Okay.
Sherry and Christine.
Wonderful, wonderful program, Anna. And I came on expecting to see Anna Everett and then saw David and Connie. This is fabulous to listen to you two. I want to say that I've heard David sing. Oh my goodness, in church, he sings. I'm not a churchgoer. David knows that. And I've shown up though some time ago. David and I met at a rabbi's house. You remember that, David?
Yes, I'm actually, we probably visit each other every other month, actually.
Oh, you
Rabbi
do?
Arthur and Lori, yeah.
Yeah. There was a time some years ago when
Yep.
there's a little bit of organizing around Jews who are not Black and African Americans who are not Jewish coming together to do some conversations, and that's where we met. And then I went to your church and I cried. I felt full of emotion, and I've been a few other times, and you sing. What a voice.
Well, thank you for that. And, anytime you want to drop in on us, you're more than welcome.
I know.
We have a few minutes now, Dr. David, if you want to give us a little tip.
Oh, I will join the choir here and join in with everybody else.
Sorry, David.
Clarence likes to sing.
That is not true, David Tripp, Dr. David Tripp.
That is true, Clarence.
I only sing when I'm trying to make a point. Like when they were talking about Mississippi and that resistance and moving with the Great Migration and the situation that we're having, most people don't know, but, Dr. Henry Gates has tried to point this out in many of his documentaries, that one of the first things that enslaved people did after they got their freedom was they put their pennies together and they built a church. Pretty much in every place they lived, these Black formerly enslaved people built churches. So when Dr. David Moore was talking, I thought about that song when they mentioned Mississippi, the Mississippi Mass Choir, the older soloist, when she sings, "Come on in the room, come on in the room, come on in the room." So that's what I thought about when you guys were talking about that. So I wanted you to break out in song,
You made me think of a woman who picked cotton in Alabama, and she really related to the song because she said she'd be out in the field and she would sing "Shine on Me, shine on me, let the light from the lighthouse shine on me," and so on. I know you know that one, Clarence.
Indeed. And, a lot of these songs came out of those work songs. When you were speaking earlier, they came out of the work songs on those plantations.
Yes.
And on the work farms that became those prison farms.
Yeah.
A lot of the cadences, you were talking about the minister, a lot of those cadences in his sermon, when he gets down in your soul, came out of the frustration and the persecution and the oppression of that environment that he grew up in.
Yes. It's all in our bones.
This is absolutely amazing. I cannot thank you again, Dr. David Moore. And thank you, Clarence. I am so happy to see that you are more energized and get into the conversation again.
All right.
Also, welcome, Christine. Forte is our, you are not the director of library, right? Can you, well, she is.
I'm the university librarian, Anna, and I came in late, and I am so looking forward to the recording of this conversation being posted.
Another of our Santa Barbara folks. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. And you will hear from me, Dr. Moore. And thank you for the singing. This is, well, maybe we
and Clarence too, right?
fancy conversation is about singing, right? Yeah. Okay. Have
All right now.
Best wishes to you, Clarence.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I'm healing. I'll be back on the mend soon.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Sherry.
Okay.
Thanks. Oh, Elaine, thanks for inviting others always.
Yeah.
I have a recommendation for someone else. I don't have her name in front of me, but she is an AU alumna from back east. And maybe if I say this part, you folks will know who I mean. My friend who lives in Amherst, Mass, is a friend of this woman I'm thinking of, and the woman I'm thinking of lives in that area and is an amazing writer, activist, advocate. She shakes things up in that area about race and racism. I'll get her name and I'll send it to you all in an email.
Well, Sharon, we're constantly looking for speakers and constantly looking for new topics. So please send them our way.
Okay, good. Yeah, I knew you've invited that. And so I've been holding on to this for a while until I could get through my list. So I will do that.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
And
you for
Thanks, Sherry.
Thank you all.
come back to